Welcome to the We Are In It podcast. My name is Daniel Ortiz. I am a data and artificial intelligence machine learning enthusiast with industry experience in both startups and big tech. Today, we are joined by Raphael H. He is a cybersecurity, IT, and software developer, having worked in all these areas, and is an alumni from Florida International University. He has worked in a diverse set of industries and specializations, demonstrating that you can have a successful career even if it is non-linear and non-standard. You will walk away with actionable insights for your own career journey, especially how to launch it in the tech industry. I hope you enjoy. Hey man, what's up, Raphael?
Hey, doing good.
So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I'm Rafael Hernandez, and so I never graduated. I went to college, and at some point I felt the need to just stop, so I dropped out. But since high school, after you know, leaving high school, I've been in a lot of different roles. I've worked for the government, for the Department of Interior. I've worked for a startup that monitors for fraud in the market. I've worked for State Farm, Mitsubishi, a satellite communications company. Uh, it's a long list. It's like over 10 places in total. But yeah.
I love that, man. It's interesting. You have, such a diverse skill set and such diverse positions, right? Like you've done some IT, some cybersecurity, some cloud. Can you kind of give us your range, your wide range of skill set?
Yeah, so let's see here. So back in high school, I was in an IT magnet high school, and I was lucky enough to, sort of have this thing called Tech Squad where I like did IT and I helped teachers fix their computer problems. And so we'd get issues and we'd go to the classroom, and it was like a whole elective, and it was like really a great learning experience. And then towards the end of high school, I sort of got like into programming because I just thought it was fun. Really, I had gotten into programming before, but then there was a programming class that had opened up, and I was like the best programmer in my classroom. And so I sort of got picked by Department of Interior to volunteer at working on their website. So I was like the webmaster. And this turned into like a full-time job where I became a webmaster after I graduated, working on everglazesrestoration.gov. And so, yeah, from there, I mean, I started, oh, I started building out like a lot of different things on my resume. I got involved with UPE, formerly UPE, now in it, and I, taught a bunch of workshops. I started the Infotech committee, um, and yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, we hosted a CTF competition, a capture the flag cybersecurity competition. So that's all been a lot of fun, and I always spent a lot of time doing cybersecurity stuff in my free time. One of the projects that we actually hosted in Spark Dev, I led a team where we built out this this
Had to do with sound, right?
yeah. So if you have like for instance a device, and then you have it like infected with malware, you could potentially, have that device sitting on a table somewhere, and then have a computer or something else. Even if this device is on airplane mode, it's like got no Wi-Fi on, no LTE data, no Bluetooth. You could use sound listening on the microphone of the phone or device or laptop or whatever it is that's infected, and control it through that way. And so that's what we built, and we were able to send commands from one computer to the other, and just basically shell access. It was just a little slow, but um, yeah, it like used ultrasonic frequencies, so like people were kind of like noticing something was happening with sound, but they weren't sure where it was coming from or what it was doing, so they sort of just ignored it because they couldn't really like hear it that well. But I'm sure if you had a dog around, they'd be annoyed by it. Um, but yeah, I mean, from there, I got a job at like a couple different places. That was around the time when I dropped out, and I ended up at like this one company where I was basically doing full stack web development. Um, and I built out like, a lot of different features for what is essentially like a brokerage company that like manages stock portfolios for people and banks to like be able to monitor for like potentially dangerous activity like fraud, uh, or like money laundering, that sort of thing. So, like for instance, like a broker could like have an old lady's retirement account, and he could be like buying a bunch of penny stocks and then selling those penny stocks, pumping and dumping the money from her account to other accounts, and that's fraud. That's illegal. So that sort of thing was the stuff we were looking for. From there, I got a referral from my great friend Jose Araguren, and got a job at State Farm. So I moved up out of Miami to State Farm here in the office in Atlanta. And that was in the middle of COVID, so really go into I didn't really have to go into the office because it was fully remote, but I used the relocation package to buy my first property. Um, because they gave me that. So I was like, oh, well, if you're going to give me a relocation package, let me go use that to like invest in something that's going to be part of my net worth. And so I had moved out, was living on my own for the first time, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm.
4.5 years ago, I think. And since then, yeah, I've worked like 7 jobs. Um, yeah, like from 4 years ago, I worked like 7 different jobs in that time frame. One of them being Mitsubishi, uh, and another being in Mitsubishi. I was working on like automating automation software that like basically it's like IoT related stuff. You can like control um your air conditioning units set a schedule for like when you want the home to be heated up, cooled down, all from an app. And I was working kind of on the back end of that. Yeah, just developing features there. Um, yeah, and then after that, I mean, I I found a job at a satellite communications company where I built out this company's called Orbital Effects. I was building out essentially like a front end and some features on the back end too, where it was basically like people would be able to schedule when they want a satellite to um like we have a bunch of like satellites going in orbit around the Earth at that company, and we want like specific images of specific areas of the Earth to be taken. Like one place was like Kiev, where we wanted like images of the Earth right as like that whole thing that started in Ukraine was happening. We wanted images of like part of Kiev, and uh, that was being asked of us by um, government agencies. Now, I can't say anything else except that. But
Wow, I was like, we're already getting such interesting information.
no, yeah,
This
yeah,
is
I can't say
this is
anything else.
awesome.
But I mean,
It's
none
cool.
of the information that I know is classified. I just don't want to give away too much.
No, of
But
course, of course.
um, yeah, yeah. I mean, we were. It's a government contractor. It wasn't a government company, so I didn't even have to bother getting clearance. But
Mm.
um, yeah, that was a cool job because I was building out this front end where people were literally just like, "Oh, I want to take a picture of this area of the Earth," and then
Mm.
it gives them like a schedule, like different times where the satellite's going to be over that, and then it'll like take an image, and then whenever the satellite is next over a ground station, it'll download that data. Everyone thinks satellites are complicated. It's just a Linux computer. We literally would just SSH into the satellite and download images over like download like the actual like contents of
Mm.
the OS, like the file system. We would just replicate it and download the files
Mm.
that way. So it was like not complicated at all. I mean, it
It,
is
if
complicated.
anything, the rocket science to actually get it up there is the complicated part, right?
Yeah, that's the complicated part.
That's the complicated part. That's so interesting. It's basically just what, like a giant Raspberry Pi that with a Linux on it,
Dude,
and it connects so much stuff.
you say that like it's a joke, but I mean, we had a Beagle bone on there, so it's like not that different from a Raspberry Pi. It's just like a hobbyist computer board We had like multiple. You have to have like a secondary board in case like the main one gets hit with like a solar flare and gets busted. But yeah, they were just like regular like machines on the satellite, so it was not anything crazy. But yeah, then after that, I worked at a place called Nutrien where it's like smart farming, where like I was working on some project where and all of these jobs I was like doing full stack development. My role might have been something like senior cloud engineer, staff cloud engineer, things like that. Um, and yeah, Nutrien, I was working on this technology where like smart farming, right? That's what they do. And so you have like tractors going over a field, and as they go over a field, like these John Deere tractors would like send a vector map, like a graph of like where they are, and like using the width of the tractor, you like measure that over the GPS coordinates on the field, and you like track all the different areas that have been like taken care of in terms of like tilling and seeding,
Right. You
and
can gather a
then
lot of
we
useful
have
data
to
off of
store
it.
that data. Yeah, and that
Mm.
was basically the sort of stuff I was working on, was like migrating from a Kubernetes solution to like a cloud-based solution where we were
Mm.
automating part of that effort, um, and like moving data in. It there was a lot, but it was really interesting. And yeah, I mean I've just been bouncing around a lot lately in all these different jobs. So it's been a lot. I've learned a lot in the past 4 or 5 years doing this. I went from being, I guess, entry level about 6 years ago to being like principal level now. So
That's
yeah.
incredible. That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thanks.
It's really interesting because you have such a diverse you have genuinely such a diverse range of projects that you've worked on, and like that's one of the really cool things is I feel like you've touched on so many technologies and yet you've gone really deeply into them. What has kind of been your guiding principle in terms of like what you're working on, right? Because it sounds to me like you definitely have the ability to have stayed at any of these one of these companies and just stayed there and kind of done the work. But it sounds like something else was kind of driving you, right? So what would you say? What was the kind of your guiding principle on what you wanted to work on and like what you are working on?
Yeah, so this is really important to me. It's like probably the most important thing, and I think about it every day. Um, I think about it when I wake up in the mornings and before bed, and it's like so when you think about what you want to do before you die, right? Like usually people have like some sort of goals in mind, like and they call that life goals because you can only do that while you're still alive, and you only have so much time. And so one of my life goals is to get into aging research and aging science, and
Longevity.
yeah, longevity, and be able to research that. And in order for me to get there and to be able to go back into studying medicine and genetics and all that, I need to like not worry about money ever again. Like I need to have enough money that I just don't need to ever worry about survival. And so I'm dedicating my 20s basically to getting financially independent. And there's this movement online called FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And um, yeah, basically I'm trying to get to the point where I have so much income and wealth that I just don't need to work anymore and it becomes optional to work. And so far I'm on track. I think I can get there by the time I'm 30. So that's the goal. And yeah, it's been really tough and it's been kind of like lonely sometimes, but it's worth it because, yeah, you got to like pursue your life goals, you know? And if I feel like I can get to like being completely financially independent, and then the moment that I'm 30, like I don't need to work ever again, I have all this free time to actually do the things I love. Like if I want to pick up an instrument back here, I'm going to have way more time to dedicate to that, to master it. I'm not going to have to trade in 8 hours every single day of the week, of the weekdays to like have to, you know, survive basically, which is why everyone's working a job. Nobody wants to work a job. Like if you like programming, you just do it on your free time and work on open source projects, which many people do. But most people, they work these jobs because they have to. Some people, they happen to enjoy the jobs they work, and I do. I try to. But really, we're not here because we're not here doing this work. We wouldn't be doing it for free, if we weren't getting paid, we wouldn't be doing it. So, yeah. I'm working towards my life goal here, and job hopping is like the fastest way to earn more money, right? So if I can just switch jobs as fast as possible, faster than I'd get a promotion and get like a 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K raise, why would I stay here, you know?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing about tech is it's one of those fields where that's actually a totally viable career path, right? Is switching from company to company every set period of time. But it seems like and it seems like it can even benefit you in the sense that even if the first job that you get out of the gate isn't the one that you necessarily want, it can help you pivot into the one that is more aligned with what you're interested in, right?
Yeah, and nowadays, who's working at one place for over 10 years? Like, that's just insanity to me. Like, I mean, yeah, there are people doing it. If you're at a great company and you love it, like, I mean, if you found like the one, but almost always there's an opportunity that comes in, someone slides into your DMs on LinkedIn and it's like, hey, we got this role. Are you interested? Fully remote? Look at all these benefits. Ooh, 20% 401k match. Can you believe that? Whoa, hey, this you're gonna get paid 40K more than what you're earning right now. Why don't you come on side over here, you know? It's like why would you stay? Why would you come on? I don't know. It makes more sense to job hop in 2024, I think.
Yeah, and very based, very based. Speaking of job hopping, right? In order to, I think one of the this kind of relates a little bit to what a lot of people who are graduating or still in college are experiencing is this kind of the kind of tailwinds of tech right now, right? In terms of opportunity and availability and all these different things. And so I think people are really interested in hearing, for example, kind of how you have developed the skill set that you've developed based on your interests and your capabilities, right? Because I think that's the number one thing that needs to get developed in order for them to actually be able to land these opportunities, as well as leak code, of course. As you say, you're
Yeah.
still practicing, right? And that says a lot, especially after all the positions that you've had. So to kind of take a step back, like what advice would you give for people that are currently, trying to get their first opportunity? Maybe maybe they're starting the leak code grind, or maybe they're just a little lost. Kind of, what advice would you give for them?
Yeah, I guess it's a little hard, right? Because I had the great fortune of being really passionate about technology. I really love technology, programming, understanding the field, understanding what makes computers tick, understanding why they could breaking them. Like I just enjoy like all of it, you know? And it's not everyone's going to be like that. Not everyone's going to be a passionate generalist who just delves into everything they see and enjoys it. Not everyone has that intrinsic motivation for tech. So I feel like for me, I don't need goals to be really good at tech. I was already good at tech before I got into college, and that's part of the reason why I dropped out. I was already a pretty good programmer. But
Mm.
I feel like if someone wants to get good at tech, they need to either find a really like deep passion in them for like this technology by trying a bunch of different things and seeing what they like, right? Or um, like that's the whole point of college. That's the whole point of university. It's an exploration of knowledge and it's an exploration of like all the different things you could be doing for the rest of your life, right? Because if you pick a career, generally most people work that career for the rest of their life. And so you have to make the right choice by picking something that you love. And if you can't figure out what it is that you love, pick something that makes sense. Because some people like they're still 40 and they don't know what they want to do with their life, and that's fine. You can have like two kids, a wife, be married, and not as, gee, I don't know. I mean, I have this home, I have a boat, I have children, grandchildren, but I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like that's not out of this world impossible. Some people are like that. Um, and they just stay in this one job that they've been working in because it pays well. And tech is one of those jobs that pays well. So I do recommend if you're not sure what you want to do with your life, getting into tech. And if you happen to be good with computers, yeah, that's a great option. Um, Honestly, one of the best things you could do if you are struggling with, learning learning how to program efficiently, things like leak code, you gotta start a friend group. You gotta have at least one other human being who motivates you into being as good as you are. For me, when I really started out, I was sort of alone in that aspect, and I just found like YouTube channels. I learned how to code off of YouTube, the new Boston, some guy called Bucky that would like teach videos on like C++, plus plus, and I downloaded this weird program called Code Blocks, and that's how I learned how to code for the first time. Um, and so that was like I was super intimidated by it until I watched his videos and picked it up, and I was like, oh, this actually isn't that hard. I mean, I just need to sit down and not be distracted and like actually try. And when it comes to doing things that are hard, like, medium difficulty leak code problems that involve graph traversal or like trees and that sort of thing, don't expect to like get super good in like a few days. It takes time. One thing that I like doing is I have these little books, this Remarkable, and it's really nice because I'm not shilling it, but like you can draw out things on here, and I use that notebook every morning when I wake up during weekdays. I'll write down like what I want to do for my day, and you can like move things around, select them, and adjust your schedule. And you should try to plan out during your weekends and hours when you have free time. And be flexible, of course, but try to plan out like how you're going to approach the problem, how you're going to like get good at it. Especially with leak code, a lot of people they get like they get it in their head that they have to learn and discover and intuit everything themselves. And so they like sit in front of a leak code problem, and if they can't solve it, they just spend hours trying and trying and trying. And that's just don't do that. That's terrible. You just look at the solution. Figure out what the approach is. You can't you're not no one not everyone can just intuit every algorithm that exists. You definitely have to like reach out to people, reach out to resources, like look at solutions, look at the ways that things have been done. Don't just bang your head on the keyboard trying over and over and over to like build something that's like really difficult, really complicated. Um, but yeah, like everyone that's like doing leak code, typically they're doing it because they're trying to prepare for a big tech interview, right? Or like an internship interview for like a job at a big tech company. But what I did was the opposite. When I was in college, I really didn't like leak code. I thought leak code was stupid because like, oh, I never code like this in real life, and I've been coding for years already. And so instead, I would build projects, and I just put a bunch of open source projects on my resume. And I wasn't interested in working at Google or Facebook or Amazon. I just wanted to get a job that paid well, that paid six figs, that sort of thing, in Miami, and which is hard to do. But I put in like Miami doesn't pay very well. Let me just say this, part of the reason why I left Florida. Um, but yeah, you can just build projects. You can like make like websites, put them on the internet, like have like your GitHub link to that, make it look professional, have these like projects on your resume, post about it on LinkedIn, and then feature that. And recruiters will see that when they start looking at your profile. They're like, whoa, he has a website. Whoa, he's got like a blog. He's got like these like open source projects on his resume. Wow, that sounds complicated. I mean, you could put open source projects, or just you don't even have to make them open source, but you could just put projects and like things that you've worked on in your free time on your resume as if they were work experience. Because technically speaking, it is experience that is similar to work, right? That is similar to like what you'd be doing at a job. In my resume, I just have a section that says experience, and even like old projects that I worked on that are open source are still on there. And it is experience. So that's how I see it. You can take those two approaches: go into big tech, do leak code, or build out projects, make your resume look like you have a lot of experience, and then work a job that isn't big tech, right?
100%. The big tech job does not have to be the thing that provides all the meaning for your life, right? It can just be the means to the end. Uh, it can also happen to. I also find this interesting third alternative, which is you enter. Maybe this has happened started happening for me, but I kind of entered with that idea that like, yeah, this is a means to an end. I'm going to use this incredible salary to do X, Y, and Z thing. But then I realized, oh wait, actually, as I'm learning and growing and getting better at it, and really like deep in the process, I actually like it more than I did when I
Yes.
initially started.
Oh
Right? You can
yeah.
actually develop the passion even if you initially don't like it, just by spending enough time with it.
So many people will say, I just don't like tech. I was getting into it, but it's like it's not my thing.
Right?
And then like if they had just tried a little bit longer, if they had like learned a little bit more, if they had been surrounded by people, they go to a hackathon where like there are mentors walking around literally helping you. Like I do that every show hacks. There's like definitely people that will like give you pointers on how to like get started. Like, oh, you just ask some questions. Like there's so many
One
people. Like
hundred
that's
percent, and it's
that's the
it's
beauty of
actually
in it.
100%. That's one of the most powerful things of in it. And actually, Raph, I'm so glad you brought that up because I don't know if you happen to remember, but you were actually my
Yeah,
very
you told me
first
this.
tech. You were my very first mentor for programming when I first started out. My first shell hacks 2019. I was clueless. I didn't know how to build any kind of software. I just came out of my first programming course, and I was building a Shellhacks project. Didn't know what I was doing. Realized I needed a mentor at Shellhacks. You were there, of course, and you were willing to help. You sat down with me and my team for like 3 hours straight, just helping us go through a lot of Python and Flask and stuff. We actually ended up, thanks to your help and your guidance, we ended up winning the Google Cloud prize for for that
Yeah.
Shellhacks.
Yeah, you told
So,
me this before. I had forgotten that story at first, and then it's like, man, yeah, that was crazy.
mhm.
Yeah, I love doing that, and I love seeing that sort of thing happen. Yeah, man, I'm glad. Yeah, it's like that's the sort of thing that like happens at hackathons. Like there are people who are just out here like helping you do your thing, helping you build your project, and it's like awesome when you can like learn from other people. I think that's the whole point of a community. You don't have to do it all alone.
Absolutely. So, thank you, Raphael, for contributing so much to this community and for all the incredible advice that you've given them. I think there's so many important bits of wisdom that we've gathered in just 30 minutes of conversation. Would love to have you come back. So let's kind of, in respect of your time, of course, and thank you for everything. Let's wrap this up with a few blitz questions. You
Oh,
ready?
yeah, I guess.
Let's do this. So, what are your top books that you'd recommend for others to read?
So I have a strong opinion that like books are not the most efficient way to learn and absorb information, but I've
Mhm.
read books before that have been extremely helpful. But I do recommend people instead just watch videos and summaries and sit down with an idea and write about it themselves. But top books, you said three.
Mhm.
So um, there's uh, the book 10X by Grant Cardone, which is about yeah, just being like going for 10X what you think you can do. And then there's in the first 20 hours, which is about learning things really well in the first 20 hours. And then obviously Mindset by Carol Dweck, the growth mindset book.
Mm. I love those. Growth mindset, I know, is one of the most important concepts I've ever learned. I first heard about it in high school, and it's incredible what you can do when you actually believe that you can do it. Right? It's just a matter of learning and time. Uh, really good recommendations. What's a favorite product that you've recently, fallen in love with?
Um, uh, the Remarkable book. That's like it's not a recent thing. I mean, maybe the last 3 years ago. Yeah, but better than paper, which is what I was using before.
Absolutely. I'm an iPad guy myself, but
Yeah.
I mean when you have a 13-inch iPad like this, right? You're like, "Oh, wait a minute. This
Wow.
is a little clunky just to write on." Exactly. Remarkable sounds a lot better. So I'm definitely gonna look into maybe getting one myself. What's favorite piece of content that you've consumed recently? This can be a movie, YouTube channel, social media, etc.
Uh, Good question. Oh, I don't know. I haven't been watching a lot of content. I mean, I watched Cowboy Bebop recently. That was pretty good. I've been like
Yeah.
neglecting to like finish it, but it's like a pretty great. There's a reason why it's like it was in the top 10 shows ever on IMDb. So that was pretty crazy, and I was like, okay, I gotta watch it someday. That day was pretty recent that I started watching it.
It's so funny you say that. I actually finished it. I'm only like halfway into the first season myself, and I stopped like a few months ago. And now that you say that's a top 10, I'm like, wait, like I didn't realize that. Maybe I should finish
Yeah.
it. That's awesome. I'm gonna go check it out. Lastly, Raf, you're genuinely one of the most talented people I think I've ever met in this community, and I genuinely
Thanks.
believe that. And and yet you have this heart that's willing to go out and mentor people and give them this advice. And so you have this genuine wisdom. And so, having said that, what's a piece of advice or a wisdom that you would like to impart for people? And this can be a motto, life quote. What do you think? What do you think? Something that you can share with people?
Um, I think, I try to live by the idea of be the change you want to see in the world. But it's kind of hard to implement that in your own life. And so I always try to tell people that if they have a goal in life or something that they want to accomplish before they die, make a 10-year plan where you work backwards from the person you want to become and the accomplishments you want to achieve to now. Like how could I get halfway there? That's your 5-year mark, right? How could I get halfway there? 2.5 year. How could I get halfway there? And eventually, you sort of get to like, oh, this is the thing that I need to do to get to my 1-year version of myself, like the first step to becoming that version of me that's 10 years down the future. And just imagining yourself becoming that person, like embodying like the kind of individual you want to become is extremely helpful. There's something called the Batman effect where like they tell kids to imagine they're Batman and they become really motivated and way more determined and they make better decisions. And it's really interesting because you can imagine yourself becoming that person who you want to be. Like you can imagine a better version of yourself and just like I feel it kind of sounds woo-woo, but it's like a scientific, like real phenomena where you imagine you're someone else, or you imagine you're a different version of yourself, and you can accomplish more things. You can like just get farther ahead in life. So yeah, but making a 10-year goal, thinking about who you want to become, and like approaching that year by year, month by month, even, which is what I do. I break down my goals year by year, month by month. That's the way. That's the way. You got to do it.
Organize your life for the life that you want. Set a
Hmm.
vision for yourself. I love that, Raphael.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you.
Whoop. We're gonna cut this in post production and
Okay.
done.